Hey, good morning, folks. Just chopping up some potatoes here. I just went down the pantry and I grabbed a basket full of our red and purple Majesty potatoes from last summer. They're still really nice. They're storing very well up to, it's the day after Thanksgiving, so we get another month or two out of them before they start to soften a little bit, and then I'll probably just par cook them all up and freeze them away and use them for pasties or for future batches of sausage. Because what we're going to make today is a very simple 3-pound batch of our favorite go-to sausage for this time of year, our Swedish potato sausage. And we're not even going to stuff it. Because it is our favorite go-to sausage for breakfast. Just fry up some patties and to have on a sandwich or to serve up for dinner. So we're going to par cook these potatoes. I just roughly chop them into roughly like 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch cubes or so, and we're going to cook these to mostly soften them. We're not going to turn them to mush, but we'll soften these up and cool them down, and then we will mix them with our pork. I cooked those potatoes for just 10 minutes. I got them pretty much to a boil and then turned the heat down to a simmer. Lightly salted water. I just put enough water to cover the potatoes so it doesn't take quite as long, and you get kind of a good starchy water. And I dump them out into a colander and then just dump that colander onto one of these half pans, sheet pan, and then I just set it on an inverted cooling rack on a bar stool here. And that's one nice thing about having a 65-degree house. It doesn't take long before these potatoes are cool. And I don't rinse them. I don't cool them by rinsing them in cold water. I like to keep them a little bit starchy on the outside. So what we're going to do now is just weigh out 1 pound of these potatoes, and then what I have remaining, I'll just bag them up and throw them in the refrigerator, and we'll just dice them up and fry them for breakfast in some butter and add some diced onion, and some farm fresh eggs and some of our Swedish sausage. I weighed out 1 pound of the potatoes, and I tried to select for the peeled red potatoes that are kind of a creamy yellow color as opposed to the purple Majesties. I kind of tended to store these away for having as fried potatoes with breakfast, because I'm not quite sure what purple potatoes are going to look like in a sausage. But I'm just going to fire up the KitchenAid mixer with the grinder attachment. For those of you who have them, we have a larger grinder that I use when I'm grinding up 40 pounds of venison burger or something. But for a small job like this, for just 1 pound of potatoes, these little grinders work pretty well. So I'm just going to grind these potatoes up here. Yeah, you get the idea. I have that pound of potatoes all ground up. Now, if you don't have a grinder, a food grinder, a KitchenAid, or another kind of food grinder, you don't need one. If your pork is already ground, if you're buying ground pork, really all you need is a potato masher, or possibly a food processor or something like that. But we have our potatoes all ground up, and now we're going to add 2 pounds of this ground pork. And I'm going to talk about this ground pork here once we get this finished up, where we got it from and what we think about it. But that's a handy thing to make sausage like this. It's so quick and easy. You don't have to have a grinder or stuffer or anything. So here's our pork now added to the potatoes. Now if I was going to stuff this, I'd be adding some liquid, and what I would have done is saved back some of the potato water for when I par-cook the potatoes, or mostly cooked. They're actually pretty well cooked. But I'm not going to worry about that because this is going to be a bulk sausage. So the seasoning, very simple. You know, I used to do all kinds of elaborate seasonings for Swedish sausage. I got a little fancy there for a while, but I'm going back to the old simple stuff. So this is 1.5 tablespoons of just canning salt, just pure salt. And then 1 tablespoon of my all-purpose seasoning, which is, again, those of you who've cooked with me before or know that I use it in just about everything. I just mix up a big container like this. I saved back one of the old spice containers. And what it is just 1 part ground black pepper to 1 part onion powder or granulated onion to 1.5 to 2 parts onion powder. There's no salt in this. It's just basically black pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. And it just goes well in just about everything. So this sausage, a lot of people add diced onion to the sausage. And since that seasoning already has onion powder in it, I'm not going to mess with that. But all we want to do now is just evenly distribute the seasonings and the potatoes into there. And I'm using a gloved hand, kind of. I have gloves sitting here, and it makes it a lot easier to clean up your hands and everything. Good for sanitation, but I'm not too concerned about that. This is our food, not selling it or anything. So just squeeze it and mix it just until you evenly distribute the potatoes and the seasonings into the sausage. And we should end up with 3 pounds of a bulk Swedish sausage. Now, a person can do all kinds of things at this stage. You can stuff it, of course, or you could form patties and put them on a parchment-lined baking sheet and bake them in the oven and cook them, pre-cook them, and then just cool them and either freeze them away or put them in the refrigerator. So basically, all you have to do then, if you want to have one on a sandwich or something, is to just toss it in the microwave for 20 seconds or something. But I'm just going to keep it as a bulk sausage. I'm going to keep some out in the refrigerator because to make up patties in the morning, it's a quick and easy deal. But we're going to fry up a couple, or I'll fry up one here and give it a taste. I preheated this pan. I like to preheat it on medium heat for 3 minutes, and then just put a little pat of butter in there, and then I just patted out a little patty of that, and we're just going to fry that up. Just a couple minutes on each side, and then I'll give it a sample. So I just portioned that bulk sausage out into just sandwich bags, each about 3/4 of a pound, and I'll just freeze some of these away and keep some out in the refrigerator. They'll keep a week or so in the refrigerator, okay, and then we can have those for breakfast. So here's the test. That patty I fried up, and literally it just takes a couple minutes on each side. And then I toasted one of my slices of my wild rice harvest bread with some good butter on there. Okay, I think a little less salt. I think we can back off. We'll say a tablespoon let's see, I did a tablespoon and a half. 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon. Let's try that. And then not add any salt to the potato water. I added just a little bit. You don't need that. Other than that, I mean, it's not overly salty. I think most people really like it. Sausage, the pork's a little lean, which, you know, if we used to store-bought pork, which is a higher percentage of fat generally, the ground pork, it's fairly lean, but it's good, really good. So I won't eat in front of you anymore, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about that pork that we bought. So last Saturday, Peg and I drove down to Henning, Minnesota. We went to Cornerstone Farms, a family farm down in Henning that raises pastured pork. We found them through the Minnesota Grown website and contacted them. They're super people. They raise about 50 hogs pastured, and then not only are the hogs getting pasture, but the grain that they're fed, they grow. It's their own grain, organic grain. And so, you know, we're assured that what goes into that pork is just good stuff. So after Peg and I have both read Beyond Labels by Dr. Sina McCullough and Joel Salatin, and I don't recommend this book if you're not willing to make changes in your diet or even throw out a lot of what's in your larder at the current time. We found ourselves dumping some food out that we don't want to eat anymore. But it talks a lot about our food, where it's coming from, what's in it, and basically the message is we are responsible for what goes into our bodies. The government's certainly not going to help us, but they break it all down into practical bites. So practical bite number 56 is to eat ecologically raised pastured pork from your local farmer. So you're supposed to ask if the pigs are ecologically raised, including rotation on pasture, no GMOs, pesticides or herbicides present on the land, no antibiotics or hormones administered, and the meat is not disinfected with chemicals during processing. And Joel, he goes on to say, if you've ever encountered a happy, contented pig, these confinement houses that they're grown in are the most despicable, horrendous environments you can ever imagine. To take an inquisitive, responsive, socially interactive pig and put it in such a disrespectful environment is evil and unconscionable. So please do not buy pork from factory farms. We don't anymore. So, you know, the choice is yours, but we've made the choice to move to cleaner food, and we feel a difference, and, you know, it just feels good. So, until next time, it's Mark again with Backwood Basics. Let's grow together, and let's make choices with our dollars. We're voting with our dollars. Let's make choices with our dollars to support farmers who are trying to do it right.